This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
Hello, everyone. This is Kenny from Do the Math 24/7. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Do the Math 24/7's Math Talk. We have an exciting episode today. We have a special guest, Miss Renee Welk. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes. Thank you for joining the podcast today. We're going to have a great time today, too.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, before we go into the interview, I'm going to first break down my company, Do the Math 24/7. Now, Do the Math 24/7 is a company with a positive message on respect, unity, and equality. We have several different ways in which we spread our positive message. We have a character building school program. We have an anti-bully program. We have action figures. We have an apparel line. We do public speaking, and we also have our podcast. Now, our company, Do the Math 24/7, is broken down into 5 basic math symbols. So for add self-respect, add kindness. For subtract bullying, subtract injustice. For multiply empathy, multiply understanding. For divide, indivisible, meaning that even though we're divided at times, we may have differences, ultimately we're stronger when we come together, when we're unified, we're working together as one, indivisible. Equal stands for equality, equal rights, equal opportunity, and 24/7 stands for all the time. So there you go, Do the Math 24/7. So again, thank you for being a guest today.
I'm so glad to be here, and I've seen you in action doing all those things out and about in the community. So.
Yes, so you vouch for me there, right?
I do. Yeah, I can completely vouch. Yes, okay. 100%.
Yes, and speaking on that, we first met probably about 3 to 4 years ago at Sister Soul Fest.
Yep.
Right? You help out Miss Loretta, and shout out to Sister Soul Fest. Let me clap it up for Sister Soul Fest. My friend, Miss Loretta Lorenzo, she's been doing great things in Des Moines and also in North Carolina right now.
Yeah.
So she moved out there, so she's doing great things in North Carolina. But share a little bit as far as what you've helped. How did you help out Loretta with Sister Soul Fest?
I actually met her in a class at Drake.
Okay.
And I just love her.
Okay.
Who doesn't?
Period, right?
Yep. And then when I figured out what she was doing, I said, how can I help? What can I do? So when you see me, I am running around
busy,
like a mad woman,
yes.
As her right-hand man, basically, at Sister Soul Fest. So
yes.
whatever needs done, I do it. Pick up trash, organize people, help people, solve problems.
Right. And also let me know where my assigned table is. There's been a few times I've asked, like, hey, where's my table at? So you're looking at the map. There you are to do the map. So actually one summer, you actually hooked me up with a better preferred spot, too. So
there you go.
I want to thank you for that.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And that's one thing about when I go to different events. I always try to get there early just so I can get a nice spot just so I can get all the traffic. So I definitely appreciate that. But today, I'm glad that you're on. Now, just through communication, me, you, and Loretta have been kind of, going back and forth, just trying to figure out to have you on the podcast. And, we are Facebook friends.
Yes.
And you do a lot of different things. And, of course, I want you to share that. But then also, you're an author.
Yeah.
You're an author of your book. You might give the title of your book?
Yep, it's Ease the Chaos, so a guide through growth and change to help people live life more by design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of adding and subtracting, multiplying in there.
Yes. And I like the fact that you actually, how frequently you post on social media as far as what you do, and even as far as your book, too, just so people get familiar with it. But let's say as far from the standpoint of an intro, for the readers, for the listeners, how would you normally introduce yourself?
Well, I love people.
Mm-hmm.
On my tombstone, it's going to say she was nice.
Okay.
I want to help everything, and I coach people now through nutrition and gut health. I used to be a teacher, so I've educated or coached or mentored my whole adult life, and I had a family incident that happened, and also COVID, where I was like, people need better coping skills. Like, we give up on ourselves way too fast, and I just thought all of the things that I learned through my relationships with people and helping people and seeing people prejudge themselves or sell themselves short, I just really wanted to help them get over some of those hurdles because I know we all have greatness in us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Okay. Now, as far as, being, let's say in the counseling industry or just being in that, working in that space for over 30 years, correct?
Yeah.
And mentoring, what sparked your interest to get into that?
I think it's a catalyst of things or just domino effect. I used to tell my high school kiddos, even if you don't know what you want you to do, pick something and more doors will open, or you will close that door and say, that is not for me. So I always loved teaching and coaching, but when we had a family, the schedule of it with what my husband did, he worked 4 to noon. It just didn't serve us. And so we thought, what are we going to do? And I love nutrition, love wellness. So I became self-employed. That led me to coaching people, adults instead of kids, which really led to the book. After that class that I met Loretta in, actually, I was trying to figure out how to start a nonprofit to help people with housing. So that's still in the works, and it will have the same name, Ease the Chaos.
Wow.
So it really is a domino of like finding passions, and I don't think you can know at 16 or 18 necessarily what your passion is. And for people who do, that is a huge blessing. But so many of us question and don't know. So I am that story of I just went with something, and then I allowed the other doors to open and just kept exploring.
Okay, so and I'm just thinking about this question right now, but so how did that feel, knowing that you're stepping into a new realm, not really knowing what's going to happen, trusting, having faith, right? How was that? I mean, how did you navigate through that?
It's scary every time, and my whole story is in different chapters of this book, and you'll find, like, even now, I know how to talk about wellness, and if I transition to that, I try not to, but I'm new at practicing talking about my book and talking about those skills. Like, I can tell you everything about gut health and eating clean in a lickety-split, and in here, I talk about feeling like, am I enough to do this? In the chapter that you were talking about when you asked me some questions, I underlined some words: doubt, stress, scary, questioning my decision, starting to worry. And I think the whole point of this book is those things are normal. But so often they just turn us around and make us walk back out the door and wonder what if. And I want people to normalize those feelings, know that insecurities and fears happen, failures happen. And so I've had to take a lot of my own advice having written this because it put me right back in that new space where you question yourself, maybe, looking around, who am I to write a book? Who am I to think I know more than Kenny, who's been doing, helping people do self-help for how many ever years? So I just want to normalize all those feelings.
Normalize, right. So instead of it, like for so long, it's looked on as being bad if you don't feel like you have it all together, right?
Yeah.
But what you're saying is acknowledging that.
Absolutely.
Right? Just, you're right, I don't.
Yep.
But that's awareness.
Yeah.
Right?
I in answering some of the questions you put in here, it's courage over confidence. We aren't going to start with confidence. And even if we do, once we get on a path, obstacles happen, shutdowns happen, doors closed, illness happens. And then we just start to feel like, am I on the right track? Am I enough to do this? And I really want to help people realize that having the courage is what we have to focus on versus the confidence. It comes with wins, but wins come after we get knocked back down and we get back up again.
Right, yeah.
So I've been knocked down a lot. How to get back up.
You want to share one time you've been knocked down or any examples?
Sure. One of the examples in here, talking about bubble wrap, that is a chapter. So every chapter in my book has one point. Yeah. Okay. So one example that I put in here was when I started my business and then got some momentum and growth, I didn't realize that what happened was with most businesses, you have growth. Happens even if you go to the gym because you're trying to lose weight. Maybe you're trying to build a better relationship with a spouse. You're on this track. You're like, yes, I got it. This is happening. And then you think it's just going to keep on going. But real life, what happens is something puts a little pause and it starts to steady out, and then sometimes you even take a dip. And I thought, maybe I'm not supposed to do this wellness business. Now it's taking a dip. Did I do something wrong? Am I not keeping up with the times? Am I supposed to change something? And all the self-doubt just starts to go. Comparison, ego. What do I tell the people who were counting on me? And now we're like going down. And I went to a conference and there was this woman who shared a graph. And it went up, down, and she said, look at this. And it was a crash. It was a pitfall down. And then she showed what happened after that. And she's like, what if I would have given up? And then she did statistics on what happens in business. And there aren't any that say it goes all up all the time. So I got knocked down huge. And what happens is if we're not prepared for that, I let it stagnate me. And I probably dipped lower just because I was running on self-doubt versus actual truth of how businesses work. Another time is when I sent my first manuscript to the editor. It's really hard to get back 780 pings saying, well, you should change this, you should change this. One of the things the person taught me, and I realized later that her job before was to make sure that nothing bad could happen to companies. I don't know what the name of that is. I can't remember. I should probably memorize that. So she told me I was too vulnerable. And why would people read my book if I showed that imperfection and that vulnerability and that my business did go down? It was very interesting. So then I had to be introspective and call my business coach. I had to look at my values and decide if I was going to change. The whole tone of my book is vulnerability, honesty. I went through this too. I just want you to know you're not alone. Would anyone buy the book if I put that in there? So every time we do something, we just have to expect that there will be these doubts and, really put more effort into talking to ourselves, I think, than listening to others' opinions or even listening to those little whispers that sometimes go on in our own heads too.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a long answer.
No, I'll
take a drink.
No, okay. No, you're fine. So, as far as your book, so you were counseling and mentoring for over 30 years, working with sports, right? Sports schools.
School teaching and coaching cross country.
Right, coaching cross country.
And then coaching people in wellness and in business startups.
In business, okay. Yep. So you had all that going on. Obviously, you were busy. What triggered you to want to write a book? Or was it like aha moment, or what actually happened that you figured, this needs to be on paper?
It is. I wanted to start a nonprofit to help people own houses. And in the process of figuring that out, what I realized is it's a lot our mindset. You can give a hand out, but until you give a hand up, the people can't do things on their own, right? So my nonprofit the idea is we will start with some fundraising, but then the very people who are buying the homes will be the ones that are helping the next people buy who otherwise wouldn't be able to. And we had some components that I figured out, and one of them was mental health and that personal growth and development. Because when you have a house, it's the same way. Like your roof goes out and you think, how am I going to afford this? And then at the same time, the toilet clogs and then something else happens. And I started writing down ideas for about a year in my phone when I got them. Just little things that would happen to me that I thought, if people knew this, then they wouldn't have to stagnate or stall or stay down as long. And I decided after COVID and just seeing what happened in our country with communication and being able to have coping skills when we are feeling fear or insecurity or whatever, I'm like, I'm just going to put these all in a book and hope that it gets to the right ears to help somebody live a happier, more joyful, more peaceful life with easing some of the chaos. And the chaos can be external, but a lot of it's what we're thinking.
Okay. So as far as your book, what is something that you would want the readers to get out of it?
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard the quote, but when you change the way that you look at things, the things you look at change. And one example I give is that my husband, bless him, when we pull in our driveway, I go straight into the garage, but he has to go over and then go into his stall. And now we have 2 kids that drive. So now we have these cars parked in the driveway also. And so he has to really tightly go like parking, but then turn the car, fit into the driveway, right? And it just started annoying him. And every time he had to go in the driveway, it was almost like, why didn't I pick the other side, you know? And we know that those little things do bring us down, and it takes us, our joy and our spark just a little bit, even the little things like that. So I said, you know, when I see their cars, I'm excited because both of our kids are home.
Perspective.
And now when he drives in there, when both of the cars are home, he can look forward to seeing our girls. And now we have one off to college. So it's even better when both of our kids are home, right? And so just that perspective shift made that part of his day more uplifting than another ping that's like another heavy thing that's bringing us down. So every chapter talks about a new way to look at things. The whole book is about growth and change. Anytime we want to level up in any part of our life, as soon as we make that choice, things arise that look like obstacles. And so if you don't care, I could read a part of this that I feel will say it better than I can say it without thinking it through quite as much. Okay, so thinking of getting on a river, and it's the river of life, right? And you either are just coasting and going where the water takes you, or you have a destination, right? So here's my example is if I allowed myself to be swept away on the river of life, I'd be floating wherever it took me. If a fallen tree caused me to drift a different direction, it wouldn't matter. If I were delayed due to rapids, wouldn't matter. However, if I'm on the river and had a goal to reach the next town by sundown, I would see the tree and rapids as obstacles, keeping me from arriving on time. If we set out on a road trip with no destination in mind, we can meander, stopping at length at any town, visiting with our friends, or with a flat tire with little consequence. On the contrary, if we have a goal to cross the country with a mission to see someone important to us before their passing, we will notice every second that we're sitting behind a driver who didn't realize the light was green. The seconds would seem like eternity, and we could almost hear the clock ticking away in the background. The same flat tire, distractions, and delays would have happened regardless of whether or not we were meandering or on a mission. But once the goal and plan is in place, we notice them and label them as obstacles. When you have a mission, time becomes precious, energy becomes precious, obstacles become obvious, and we have to expect the obstacles. Hitting one doesn't mean the journey wasn't meant to be. In fact, it might just be an indication that you care and are on your mission to live life more by design. So just some shifts of thinking.
Right. Yeah. Huh. That's good.
Well, thanks. I hope so. But
No, because what you're saying is you're experiencing the same thing in pretty much two different examples. You're experiencing the same thing, but it's the perspective, how you're going to view it.
And it's how you
right?
feel.
And how you feel.
And then it's how you react to the next thing. It's how you respond to someone close to you. If you respond annoyed or out of fear or you're short with them. So obstacles arise, and it's like, what can we do to prepare ourselves to respond in the way that aligns with our values and aligns with where we're going, versus letting them hold us back and seeing them as an obstacle because we actually do have a purpose,
right,
instead of just life's trying to keep me down.
Right,
well, no,
right.
you are on a mission,
You're
friend.
on a mission, right.
You are going places, and these obstacles are going to be there whether or not you're trying to do this. So
Right.
do not give up on it. Do not give up on yourself.
And what about when you reach an obstacle, when it's facing you, to maybe have a nonchalant, as if you were on vacation, not a big deal. Okay, well, we're going to still get there. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, what do you think about that? Maybe, instead of allowing that obstacle to be pressure, or just, I'm not going to hit that deadline, we're just like, it's going to work out. I'll figure it out. I mean,
Yep.
Do you think that's good?
Well, I also teach nutrition and gut health, and part of it is stress. So from a physiological thing, absolutely. That's why we hear more about breath work. And, and it's not just the breath work or yoga in that hour that you spend doing it intentionally, but the point is to try to put those techniques in when life gets hard, right? Right at that moment, instead of snapping at my kid, I'm like, why am I feeling anxious about this? Like, why is this making me feel maybe less than, or what is this feeling I'm feeling? Because my child should be able to ask me a question anytime.
Right.
And if I'm feeling weird because of it, why is that? And for me, I found when I feel like I snap at them, and there's a chapter called Why Did I Just Snap? It's because I want to do what they are asking, but I have some limits that are not allowing me. And then I feel guilty that I can't do the thing that I really want to do. And so I'd be like, sorry, I can't, or whatever. And now I say something more like, I am so glad you asked me to do that. I have these two things, but could we do that on Friday afternoon or Saturday? Like, is there another time? Instead of me feeling less than and sad to miss out and feel like I'm disappointing someone, that's when I would snap before. And then once I realize that, now it's like I recognize that feeling, and I can just take just a little pause and realize that I'm projecting the way I'm feeling, not because of anything they asked, but just because I don't feel like I can be enough at the time, and respond differently so that they don't receive something that then sets their day or path off.
Yes.
And have that domino of,
Effect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not perfect.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
sometimes I have to go back the next day and say, I could have handled that better. I think I was stressed out. But normalizing it and having that conversation later is completely fine.
Right.
But then it lets them think about when they snap or are short, and that they can apologize and how good that felt, and that I own it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. And, just thinking about the title, Ease the Chaos. I mean, first point I'm thinking about is ease. When you think about ease, it's calm, it's relaxing,
yeah.
and then you have chaos. When you think about chaos, you're just like chaotic, it's busyness or something, just a lot of stuff going on,
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you have both ease the chaos. But that's good that you acknowledge the chaos, knowing that there's going to still be chaos, right?
Yeah,
There's
the
gonna
river's still
be growth.
flowing.
The river's still flowing. It's not
things are falling.
right. Things are falling. It's going to still be chaotic, because sometimes I think that we do a disservice to ourselves when we think that we can create this world that is not going to be chaotic.
That life by design, we think is opposite.
Or if
Instead
there
of
is
with.
chaos, then there's a lot that's, what's really wrong. But chaos is a part of life. It's flowing, ever flowing, right?
Unfortunately, it just is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
100%.
Yeah. But the ease is greater than the chaos, right?
Yeah,
it's that balancing,
that's the goal.
right? It's the balancing, but the goal is to have the ease part,
Yep.
But like you said, just acknowledging and realizing that there's still going to be chaos. And there's beauty in chaos, too.
Absolutely.
Great things come out of chaos,
Yep.
right?
When we watch the movies and we if you ever watch a movie or a show, I mean, every person goes through some sort of issue. And then we're proud of them and we like them even more. But when we're going through the issues, we think we have to be perfect.
Right.
Or that we did something wrong that could have caused that. And I think just normalizing that that's part of it, and then figuring out what are our coping mechanisms, what are the things that I can control, what can't I control, and how do I ease what's in my mind, even if I can't ease everything else going on around me. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do. I get that. So I am definitely not perfect. And in the end of each chapter also, I put, like, if you realize this is something you need to work on, here's a whole list of books, podcasts, etc., that you could listen to on my website, so I can interchange those. So if people have great ideas when they read this, they're like, oh my gosh, I just listened to like this certain podcast with Kenny, you should add it in there. I can, just to help people then dive a little bit deeper. Because the way I overcome something and switch it in my brain to make life a little easier may not be the exact same way you do, but you may resonate that you do have those same feelings,
Right.
or you've seen that obstacle and you're like, yes, I need to be better at having that crucial conversation without upsetting them. Like, how do I do that? And so that's one of the chapters. And then there are a lot of resources at the end of each one, basically, that everybody can do a little deeper dive.
Mm-hmm. You know, I like how you mentioned as far as movies, you know, they do kind of have that storyline of, you know, going through some sort of adversity, right? You're going through something, and then, you know, we gravitate toward those kind of movies, and, you know, we root for them. Right?
Yeah.
Like the Rudy shows, the Rudy and, you know, that movie, and just, you know, the Rockies and whatnot. Just kind of, you're always overcoming something, you know. And even sometimes, even now on social media, it's in a way normalizing to show your flaws.
I love that for
right?
our kids.
To show your flaws and
Absolutely.
to show that, you know, you're going through something, but it's okay, or, you know, and it's. So, okay, so we're looking at social media, and then we're talking about the movies. They're, in a way, normalizing life, adversity. We're rooting for them. Why is it that when it comes to our own lives, though? Right?
You
Come
asked
on.
me another question. I'm going to find the exact question you said. You said, how do we stay open to receiving bubble wrap when our ego wants to learn everything on our own? Or just applying our empathy toward others and our grace for others to ourselves.
Right.
And I read somebody, she's a speaker, and her name's Steph Strauss. She's here in Des Moines.
Okay.
And something she wrote said, who you want to be is one ego length away. And I really think it comes back to, we don't want to accept help because we want to be able to do it. And what does it say about us if we don't? And I love the Enneagram. It's taught me a lot about myself. But for me, it means I have to be helped and not the helper. And my strongest core value, I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, that's why I have this necklace, is I want to serve. I want to help.
I'm a 2 too. I went through
And it's like, oh, don't help me. But some people, it's control. So if you're an 8 on the Enneagram, when someone's helping you, it makes you have insecurities because you think, I'm not in control. If you're a 3, it's, what are people going to think about me? So I think we all have our own ego, and a different reason why that can stand in our way of, and we're all guilty of it. And I think the more we talk about these things, the better we can understand it and have grace for ourselves, empathy for ourselves. And so that's my opinion. I do not have any scientific evidence.
No, yeah. You know, but a lot of times, you know, we do hear about, which is great, we do hear about empathy a lot more, right? In society, and how there needs to be more empathy for others.
Yeah.
But what about ourselves?
Even harder. Yeah.
Right? We got to be
harder.
empathetic for ourselves. Give
Yeah.
ourselves a break.
One thing I tell the people who I coach in business is you can only grow your business as big as you grow yourself. Like we are the lid, and it's true for our lifestyle. It's true for our relationships. We have to get better at knowing ourselves and understanding how other people work so we can move forward in times when it's tense even better. Because our character really does show when there's pressure, right? So we have to practice all of this when there's not pressure so that when there is, we have these other skills and lifelines, just like the breathing that you talked about. Like, it's easier to do when you're sitting there and it's prescribed for you and someone's running it through. Then you have to apply it to your own self. And then when it gets really hard, you have that tool. It's more muscle memory. And
So what are some ways that the audience can help shift their perspective to change their trajectory?
Yeah, that personal growth element would always be my answer. I think that's why I wrote kind of a self-help book. And you have to find people who resonate with you. You could do audio, you could read books. And my challenge to everyone would be either read for, 10 pages a day, or read or listen to a podcast for 10 minutes a day and really develop, just learn what's out there for skills. Like, we don't know what we don't know. That's why I have a business coach, life coach, is to look at me and say, did you know that? Here's a true example of me is I scored on her testing 99% in empathy. So this is actually in the book too. When I was a teacher, there was a student who was not empathetic toward his friends and is quite bullying. And I pulled him aside because I could see, I'm like, do you think that what you're doing is helping this other person come to school every day? Like, if you were this person, how you're acting, how would that shift your desire to even be here?
Right.
And school's sometimes hard enough as it is, or work just to show up, and you're supposedly his friend, so I'm having these conversations, probably not as smooth as I could do now because I'm 25 years older. But what I didn't know until about 10 years ago is that I'm judging everyone on my 99th percentile of empathy, because when we have a God-given gift or universe-given gift, we're born with this, we just think everyone's like that. I never had to work on learning empathy, ever. So I just thought every single person in the room had the exact same skill set or knowledge. And what I've learned is that that's not true. And what you're really, really gifted at, one, you're judging everyone else on that same expectation that they were born with that. And when we look around, I may look at you and think, oh my goodness, he is so organized, so put together. I'm never going to be like that. But if you're organized and put together, you might be judging me for being less organized or put together, because you're like, this isn't even hard. Why is this person coming late? Or, so we judge other people according to our own strengths without knowing it. But then also it's hard to teach your own strength because you never had to learn it. It was gifted in a little golden box, take the bow off, and it's just part of us. So now for my teams and other people, I know what my strengths are, and I don't train on that. I have other people come in and train because I had to learn other things so I could teach you, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I struggled with that too. It made me feel so inferior. It made me feel less than. And here's how I learned how to do it. Little mini steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've also learned that the very thing that we think disqualifies us might be the thing we can help others with the absolute most.
No, that's good. Yeah. So let's talk about the bubble wrap.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about I definitely want to talk about that. So just break down the concept of the bubble wrap.
Yeah. So in that life's journey, bubble wrap to me, you've probably heard of like inoculations. Like and I do not like that word for this because of whatever reason. It's just a shot. Nobody wants to get a needle put in them, Right. And so it sounds painful thinking about it, right? I pass out with blood, so this is just not my thing. And so I'm like, it's kind of like bubble wrap. If you know something before going on air and you say, hey, Renee, the first few times I did this is something that I worried about. It's something that can kind of make or break the sound. You just don't turn your head a lot. I found I'm turning my head, so that's why I use that as example. It helps me to be confident. It helps me to know something that I could have had an error on, and we maybe had to spend another hour doing something because I moved my head. So when you're an expert and it's just taking that minute to tell the next person. So if I would have been to that conference that talked about the business ups and downs before I had my down, that would be bubble wrap. It can come from a mentor. It can come from a book. It can come from a podcast. It can come from someone else's experience. It's just a friend. But really having the information before you step in the mud puddle so that when you get there, either don't fall, or if you fall, you can get back up and there's a change of clothes over there. Like whatever it is, just so that you don't stay down when the hard comes, because somebody has said, this hard is going to come. Mm-hmm. Your mom is going to doubt you on this, or you're going to have a bestie who doesn't come to your brand new restaurant, or whatever it is. But when you know ahead of time, then when it happens, you don't think, oh, is this me? I'm not capable. My restaurant isn't good enough. Whatever it is, that's the bubble wrap.
That's the bubble wrap, yeah. And that's pretty much using advice, wisdom, inspiration, knowing that beforehand, receiving that, knowing that if it does happen, when it happens, then you know how to navigate. Yeah. And you know that, it's going to work out. Yep. So let me ask you this, and you've talked about this earlier, ego. So
goes back to that.
Goes back to ego.
Here we are.
What should we do to be receptive when, let's say, we're in chaos, and someone's trying to give us advice?
Yeah. I still don't always take it the first time.
Now, that's bubble wrap. They're giving you bubble wrap, but you're not taking that bubble wrap.
Like, I've done a lot of self-development. I've coached a lot of people. I've been coached. And I'm just going to say putting down our ego takes a lot of time and energy. And it really means taking the high road, which is one less travel because it is harder to climb, but the view is so much better. Yeah. And sometimes we learn after our ego gets in the way, and then the next time. So I think the biggest two things are, one, again, personal growth. Like, I have to know myself to know when ego is in the way. Like, I have to be able to recognize that. And in the book, I say you have to learn how to love your whole self, even the parts you don't like. So part of that ego is the parts we don't like. Like, I'm not strong enough. I'm not whatever. And so as soon as someone says something that hits that button, I go into that defense mode instead of the I'm following my values, my dreams, want to live the life by design mode. I put on my armor. Brene Brown, I think, is the one who coined that. So we have to first do a lot of personal growth, as much as we can keep doing, so that we can recognize and get better. But honestly, the second thing is it's a slow process, but the first step is just recognize it. Oh, I felt that again. I felt that last week. Like, what is that really getting at? Oh, I felt it again. And we may snap back. We may not listen. We might say, I don't need your advice. You don't understand what it's like to be 16. That's okay. Because we have to be at a place where we're ready to accept it, but then we have to realize it over time. And once you realize it enough, there will be a point when you feel it, but instead of reacting with the armor, the way we used to deal with that kind of feelings of insecurity, fear, etc., we make a different choice. And then every time we make a different choice, it keeps getting better and better and better until that part's not an issue, and then we have to deal with our ego over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what if a person wants to share some bubble wrap with a friend or family?
Yeah.
Right? Can you give them like a guide?
I wrote that down because that isn't like part of the book, but I did write some notes because I think it could be helpful. So first, I think
And I guess, real quick, because knowing that somebody may be defensive, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, go, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go.
So I think it's always okay to help if they're willing to listen. Like, you have to have the right relationship. There are people I coach that I know I cannot bring to the next level. They're going to have to get some of that elsewhere because I am almost like a mom to them, and they're just not going to listen, but I can show them books, podcasts, lead them to another source that might relate better, where they're more open.
Okay.
So that might even be you, because you're in the schools, you're talking to people, you are that other third party person that isn't quite as close. So
Gotcha.
I think the first thing is, if you aren't the person, you have to realize it, and anything that you give that's advice that's unwanted will probably get defense, and just know that, and then recognize and be like, okay, this is not the time, it's not going to be receptive, but you can sneak in the lessons through advising them to, like, hey, here's this really good book, I think you might like it. Something like that. The second thing is, I really don't think you can protect people, you can only prepare them. Our kids, our teams, everyone is going to go through things. That chaos, it does exist. And if we're trying to protect them with our words, they're not going to be as receptive as if we're trying to prepare them. So telling my kids they can't go do X, Y, or Z versus saying, here's what's going to happen likely if you go do X, Y, or Z. And I'm going to let you do this if you want, but I would love to give you some perspective around it, talk to you about some things that might happen if you go do that. And then you can decide if you're going, not going, and that there's a difference there, right? And sometimes we do have to protect them because they don't know what they're doing and we can't let them into the situation. I totally get that. But in general, we have to give them the skills so that when the hard comes, they make good decisions. Because we cannot be hovering and there all of the time around the people that we love. So that was the second thing I said, is just make sure it's not protection, but preparation. And then when I'm talking to someone like that, I might say something like, hey, there are a couple very typical things you may experience in this situation. Would it be okay if I just put them on the table so that if you experience it, you can kind of bounce back or know how to deal with it a little bit easier? So sometimes getting permission to put something on the table in a non-threatening way, you have to do this way, but just say, hey, I've stepped into those shoes before. The boss really likes it to sound like this. And I'd love to help you get your project received better.
Right, that's true.
Can I put those on the table? And if they don't want it, then I'm not the one.
Okay. So, I work with youth.
Love
work
it.
with schools.
Thank you for doing that.
No, thank you. So what can maybe parents, teachers, school administrators can do, when we're in a society where you can only say so much.
Yeah.
Right? You can only say so much, but they want to give bubble wrap, right? How can parents, teachers, school administrators, deliver that in a way that kids would be open to it?
You're asking lots of hard questions, but they're good questions. And I've been in that element, and I get that.
Because a lot of times, I was there at one point. You can tell me anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Vulnerability, using your own personal examples instead of giving advice is really huge.
Using your own example.
Yep, because then it's not putting it on them, but if they feel those same feelings or they've had the same type of experience and they're wondering, how do I do it differently? They don't hear any judgment when you're saying one thing hard that I went through. And that's why every chapter of my book has a story. I didn't even think of that when I was telling you this advice, but I do think that that's one way to do it. We all feel like we can solve everyone else's problems, but then when it comes to our own, we know there are sticky points. And I think also talking about, there aren't a ton of things that cause us to shut down and act how we aren't wanting to act, or, those behaviors we're trying to help kids change, or each other or ourselves, they almost all come down to like your core motivation, what your fears are, when you feel insecure, when you don't feel safe. We act differently. So even having more general conversations, normalizing that we have those feelings, talking about our own. I snapped at my kids when they asked if I could take them and their friends to the mall. That's not okay. And then I realized it's because I wanted to go and I felt bad I couldn't do something that they really wanted me to do and be there when they wanted me to be there. So when you feel, like what's behind that? Turn to a neighbor and no, they may not want to do that quite yet, but I think it's those conversations, just being real and using our own personal things. So they're like, well, you're super talented. You have your own company. You're on a podcast and you feel that way and you're working through those feelings. Like, I didn't know. I thought it was just so easy for you. And you had maybe supportive parents and I don't. Like, everyone thinks that the other person has something that they don't.
Right.
Until you get to know them.
Right.
And you're like,
you're right. You
had that happen too? Yep.
Yeah.
I did. And then you have another level of respect and the ear, they turn up your volume when you talk just a little bit.
So what is something that you would like to share with the audience as far as, let's say, any encouragement for someone that may not read your book? What would be something that they can leave with that you think that would help them out?
What helped me out?
And there's a few things you can share, but
okay,
because I know.
Yeah, I have coaches because I know that I need to always keep growing and I need someone to look at me and help, right? And after 5 years of coaching with this person, now it's been 10, I had this realization and I'm like, really? When I get on here, like, I need to know every time she says in a million words, not in these words, you're enough, Renee. You are enough. Listeners, you're enough. If you're here caring enough to get better, to listen to a podcast, to have a mission, as long as you have courage and you're not afraid to go use resources and learn new skills, you will get there eventually, because we are in the information age. It's hardly ever how much you don't know how to get there. It's more, do I believe in myself? And I have these thoughts that make me, like the comparison, a lot of things just make us have self-doubt, and really tuning those down and learning more about ourselves gives us the ability to know that we're enough. Even if we suck today, we know we can do this if we just keep putting in the work. Like, I tell my team, if you have to go and just be bad at something, go be bad, but it'll give you the learning you need to then get good and better and great. But you can't have excellence in anything without taking, 10,000 hours of shots. Like, if you think about the statistics that are in books. And you are enough. Like, and if you go into a realm that you're not used to, and you think, yeah, but there are people who have done this for years. But they don't have the excitement necessarily. They don't have the new technology down. We need everybody where each person is at to come together and bring this world our own gifts.
Right.
So that was the first one that I swear every time afterward, I'm like, I'm enough. And that she could have just had a recording. It's like, will you please quit downing? You are enough. You're going to be able to do this. And the other one is, am I on the right track?
Okay. Yeah.
And sometimes we just need to know the obstacles are there, which means we're probably on the right track. On the right track. Because otherwise we'd just be, whatever. So on the right track, that's the other thing. You're if you have this tug, you're probably right. Our intuition is rarely wrong. So.
And those are the times when you mentioned at the beginning when you're going through those valleys. Because you start that out, you say you was peaking, right? And then you went down, right? You sloped down into that valley. So, and we need to realize that there's going to be valleys, but 100%. You're still on the right track.
Yes.
You're still on the right track. Keep going. Keep going.
We need a better slogan for this, but I've often heard, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because you're down doesn't mean you have to throw away your whole mission, everything that's your baby right now. Like, it's just a little tricky. Just replace the bathwater, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 more questions. So if you can leave the listeners with one heartfelt message about Ease of Chaos, what would it be?
I think I put for that one again that you're enough.
You are enough. Okay.
Yeah. I just need people to know. And then there is a chapter in here called Wear the Crown. And my whole thing at the end is, and I sign every book, wear the crown, make a splash. And I don't know if we have time to read that, but I could read that for 45 seconds if you want me to end with that.
Yep, let's do it. Yep.
So wear the crown. Imagine the most adorable, and you can change this to boy, but I have 2 girls, so this is mine. Imagine the most adorable little 4-year-old girl you've ever known, standing on her tippy toes as if doing a ballet dance. She's wearing a cute little leotard with a fluffy tutu, her favorite color, of course. In her hand, she's holding a crystal clear glass filled with lemonade and big square ice cubes, a pink metal straw, and one of those fun little drink umbrellas. The ice cubes gently clank against the glass, keeping time to the playful music as she moves. Nestled into her hair rests a petite golden crown that glistens in the spotlight coming down from above, and the caption reads, "Life, a balancing act." Automatically, my brain goes to, don't spill, little one, be careful, because now we have this balancing act going on. How about yours? The thought of this being a balancing act wants me to caution her. But what if the caption changes to, wear the crown, make a splash? My mind shifts, and maybe everyone else's does too, from a state of hesitation and tension to a calm and even hopeful energy. In my mind, I'm cheering on that little gal to be brave, to be in the moment, to dance to her little heart's content. And I don't even notice the lemonade droplets splashing out onto the floor as she glides across it. All I see is her happiness and joy, and I feel it too. True joy has a way of spreading into the hearts and souls of those it reaches. So we are enough, and instead of life a balancing act, wear the crown, make a splash.
Make a splash. Wear it.
Wear it.
Own it.
Even if it's the lemonade on you.
Come on, own it.
Own it. Do it.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Now, how can people find information as far as your book?
Yeah, easethechaos.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's sold at Beaverdale Books. Have to give them a plug.
I did
and
see
on
that.
Amazon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You had a book read, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over the summer, was that?
Last fall.
Last fall. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Okay. But yeah, so that's good that it's at Beaverdale. Okay.
Yes.
And then as far as us following you, any other social that you would like for them to know about?
Instagram, Ease the Chaos as well.
Okay, Ease the Chaos.
And I need to get better at a few things. I'm not on LinkedIn yet, so see, we all have somewhere to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Good. Okay. So the last question is to do the math, 24/7 math equation. What is something that you can add, subtract, and then multiply? By doing that, that would equal to what? And that can be anything.
I thought about this one a lot. I'm like, I love this. So I put add your mission.
Add your mission.
Subtract distraction / chaos. Multiply by personal growth, because I do think that will multiply your efforts. Will equal living life by design.
There you go.
Easing the chaos.
Easing the chaos.
Yeah. Making a splash.
Making a splash, right? And embrace the chaos a little bit.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Embrace the peaks and the valleys. So,
yeah.
So is there anything else you want to just, quickly share with the audience? Pretty much good. Okay.
I'm good. I'd rather be supporting other people than being interviewed. So
Right.
if you don't have a question, I'm
You're
good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate you just coming on, and you working with different organizations. I'm seeing you in the community. That's great what you're doing, and just always having positive energy.
You.
Keep doing that. We just thank you just for being on the podcast and just kind of sharing it. And if you want to post the book again so they can kind of see it.
I'll take this out.
Yeah, there you go.
Ease the chaos.
Ease the chaos. So,
Yeah.
thank you again.
And thanks for having me and the work that you do. I mean, that's what community is about, is finding other people who are doing great things and just lifting each other up. So
Yes,
every month
yes.
you have a chance to lift people up, and I hope that we can reciprocate and be lifting you up in the work you do too.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. And that was something I definitely wanted to make sure when I was talking to Loretta. Loretta was like, I have somebody for you. Oh my God, Kenny, I got Renee. You need to interview her. And then, that's just really the mission about my company, my podcast is I'm trying to elevate everyone else.
Love it.
I want you to share what you're doing. This is your stage. You share what you're doing just so people can, because people already see you. They see you in the community. Now they can maybe can learn a little more. Okay. She's not just helping out with these different events, but she's an author. She does other things as well. So, and it's great just so, people know about all different, organizations, communities, and authors because it's needed.
Yeah.
It's really needed,
Yep.
And sometimes we don't have that platform to kind of
Right.
share what we're doing. So, and it's a struggle sometimes when you're on a tight budget trying to, get your stuff out there,
Yeah,
right?
and I'm still learning how to market a book. So if
Right,
anyone
okay.
has advice, I could take that.
Give her a little ease. No chaos,
Yeah.
but give her some ease.
I love helping people, but selling a book, I'm like, we're working on that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But it's a process.
Yes.
Yes. And
Embracing that.
you wrote a book. Come on.
Right. And honestly, I think
Come on.
everyone has a book in them.
Yes. Yes.
Like, you are enough to write
You
a
are
book.
enough. You
Everyone
are
has
enough.
that. Yeah.
Right. We all have a story.
Absolutely.
We all have a story to share. So
Yeah.
But thank you all. Thank you all again for tuning in to Do the Math 24/7's Math Talk. You can you follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Do the Math 24/7 247. My LinkedIn is Kenny Lilly. Lilly with the last name is spelled Lilly. And then that's my website. Is 101math247.com. I appreciate everyone tuning in and just always sending us positive energy. Thank you again for tuning in for Do the Math 24/7's Math Talk. And remember, Do the Math 24/7.